Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel. Why am I so close to the camera? I'm gonna show you the October Fairy Loot box and tell you about these two books about mushrooms. Okay, so this is the October Fairy Loot. And I already opened it over in a live on my Instagram. So if you were over there, Instagram saw it first. On the positive side of that, though, I think I know and can tell you the fandoms that each of the items came from. So that's good. So I got this pair of socks. These are socks inspired by Cabeswater, which is the mystical forest from the Raven Cycle by Maggie Stiefvater. One of my favorite YA series. Even though the last book was not, like, I felt like I was so into it, and then the last book was kind of like, oh yeah, that's over. So I would definitely recommend it, and I've actually thought about reading it again, because there is a new book that she's written that's in the world of the Raven Cycle, so I've thought about reading all of them again. And then we have a canvas basket. The quote on it says, "Heroes don't get happy endings, they give them to other people." It's a Stephanie Garber quote, and the book it's inspired from is, I'm gonna look over there, Once Upon a Broken Heart. So I haven't read the book yet, but it's on my physical TBR right over there. Special edition from Fairy Loot a few months ago. The 2 tarot cards. So each Fairy Loot box comes with 2 tarot cards illustrated from a particular fandom. So these 2 are the 2 main characters from the Scythe series by Neil Shusterman. And they are, as always, beautiful. And then I think there was one more. Yeah, there was an art print inspired by Howl's Moving Castle, which you guys might remember I read a few months ago and really enjoyed it. It's shelved at my library as a teen book, but it really reads like a middle grade book. So really liked that one. And the theme, which I should have told you, is Sell Your Soul. So that was October's theme for Fairy Loot. And then instead of a 4th item, and usually there's 4 items plus the tarot cards, but this time there was an extra special edition book. It's a soft cover of Princess of Souls by Alexandra Christo. And I'm going to read you the back. Celestra is heir to a powerful magic. Locked away in a tower by a cruel king, her destiny is to foretell death and harvest doomed souls to feed his immortality. Nox is a soldier who has spent years plotting vengeance on the crown. Now he's determined to steal the king's immortality and kill the entirety of his court, starting with Celestra. But when Celestra and Nox's futures become entwined and death seeks both their souls, they're forced to put their trust in each other. Can they work together to escape their dark fate? And that's Princess of Souls by Alexandra Christo. And I think that sounds super interesting. I love a souls intertwined kind of book. So I will probably read this one. And then the hardcover book is a gorgeous edition of One Dark Window by Rachel Gillig, which I'd never heard of before. It's sort of a sagey green, not as teal as it kind of looks in the video. My cat has decided to be interested in trash. Go away. Here's the end pages. And the 2 primary characters, I assume. And the alternative cover on the inside of the dust jacket, which I think is not as good as the cover that's on the other side of the dust jacket, And then here's the naked book. Okay, let me tell you what it's about. I was born with the fever, my blood dark as night. An ancient mercurial spirit is trapped inside Elspeth Spindle's head. She calls him the Nightmare. He protects her, he keeps her secrets, but nothing comes for free, especially magic. When Elspeth meets a mysterious highwayman on the forest road, she is thrust into a world of shadow and deception. Together, they embark on a dangerous quest to cure the town of Blunder from the dark magic infecting it. As the stakes heighten and their undeniable attraction intensifies, Elspeth is forced to face her darkest secret yet. The Nightmare is slowly, darkly taking over her mind, and she might not be able to stop him. As I read that for the second time, it occurs to me that it kind of reminds me of the idea of Vespertine, which is completely not the same. She's communicating with a revenant, but kind of a similar kind of thing, right? Anyway, I'm also really interested in reading this one, but I tend to check out books from the library rather than read my special editions. I was already noticing a little bit of a ding on the outside of this book. Not that it really matters, because it's not like I'm collecting them in order to sell or anything like that, but still, I like them to stay special and clear. So that is October's Fairy Loot. So that was like so fast. That was like 5 minutes for all the things that were in there. So let me tell you about these two anti-mushroom books. I read both of these in October, I think. Today is November 10th or 11th. So Ghost Eaters, no, I'll start with this one. What Moves the Dead, I read first. So this is a Fall of the House of Usher retelling. So the Fall of the House of Usher is a short story by Edgar Allan Poe. In the story, The Fall of the House of Usher, a man goes to visit wealthy or well-to-do people. Something's going on in the house, and by the end, the house is crumbling or whatever. In this story, T. Kingfisher basically posits what might be going on in the house. And it's dark, it's spooky. Her writing is very rich and just atmospheric. Let me read the first. Actually, let me show you, which for anybody who watched the unboxing for Nightworms, what this was in, already saw this spooky ass rabbit. Let me read you the first 2 sentences of this book. The mushroom's gills were the deep red color of severed muscle, the almost violet shade that contrasts so dreadfully with the pale pink of viscera. I had seen it any number of times in dead deer and dying soldiers, but it startled me to see it here. Perhaps it would not have been so unsettling if the mushrooms had not looked so much like flesh. The caps were clammy, swollen beige, puffed up against the dark red gills. They grew out of the gaps in the stones of the tarn like tumors growing from diseased skin. I had a strong urge to step back from them, and an even stronger urge to poke them with a stick. So that's the first 2 paragraphs of What Moves the Dead by T. Kingfisher, which I read and would recommend to anybody who loves the spooky Edgar Allan Poe vibes of a short story. And then after I read that one, I read Ghost Eaters by Clay McLeod Chapman, not knowing that it also had a mushroom tie-in. I do not enjoy eating mushrooms anyway, so it was okay for me. But if you like mushrooms, maybe don't read either of these 2 books. Okay, let me read. Actually, I won't read it. I will just tell you. This is a book about a girl who is kind of obsessed with her best friend, who she has had an on and off again romantic relationship with since they were in college together. He's kind of been somebody that the other people in their little peer group really revolve around. And his name is Silas. And so one of the the verbal things in the book is to say, Silas says, touch your toes, you know, where basically they do anything that Silas says. So over the years, they are still friends, but they're kind of growing apart, and Silas becomes addicted to some drug and passes away, which is an early occurrence. And our main character is still really missing him and obsessed and feeling a lot of guilt because she wasn't with him when he died. And their mutual friend tells her about this new drug that Silas was working on, that they were kind of formulating together out of a mushroom, that allows your mind to be opened to seeing dead people. So she can visit and talk to Silas if she wants to. And basically it unravels from there as her obsession with Silas and trying to see Silas kind of derails what's happening for her in her life. So that's the Ghost Eaters. The name of the pill that they take is called Ghost. So that is kind of where the title comes from. Although it really is also about like chasing your ghost. Like the metaphor of ghosts is pretty evident throughout, to letting things go, not being haunted by your past, that kind of thing. And they meet a lot of other characters who are also really trying to figure out what the hell to do with their lives now that their loved ones are gone. It is a scary cover and it is a spooky book, as you might imagine. And you can think about, like, if you're in a genre related book club, it might be a really good one, because I think the discussion around like who would you want to talk to if you were taking Ghost, or would you risk taking Ghost to talk to that person if it meant that you might see other dead people you don't want to see, right? I also think the storytelling is good, and you might have opportunities to talk about how metaphorical are the ghosts versus how much is hallucination versus how much is other things that the author might be using to tell the story. So those are two books. Would recommend both to the right audience, and the October Fairy Loot. Okay. Catch you on the next one.